How's it going, everybody? It's Carlos, your host of the Just Fans podcast, and I'm joined here by my most reliable co-host, Rios, because my other one, we don't know where he is again. So, Rios, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, man? He's about as useful as a six toe.
There we go. There we go. Yes, sir. I agree with that 100%. He's as useful as a six toe. We don't know where he's at. No, he's cool. He's cool. But hey, we got a big guest today. I'm just so excited to have this guy on. Big Sarge. How's it going, Sarge? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, y'all, man? First of all, thanks for having me on. And one day I'll tell you this weird story about how I dated a girl who had a six toe.
Can we hear it now?
Oh,
Or is it not a now story?
It was weird. Now my wife's in the other room.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it. He won't see it. He won't see.
Yeah. I'm happily married. I like and I want to stay that way.
Yeah,
right.
There you go.
You're just gonna see a Santa flying across the street.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Yeah.
And look, my wife is so she's half white, half Mexican. So what is it?
La chancla.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's a half white, so it has Mexican. So it's the chancla. There you go.
La chancla.
Yeah, it's the chancla.
Right,
Hey, man,
right.
So, like I said, I'm very excited to have you on here, man. You're just like a big legend here in Houston, and I respect all that you do. When I first started trying to do the podcast thing, I listened to some of your work, and I was like, man, this guy, you were just like your energy. Like you can see your energy transcend through the podcast, man. So I'm just like, you were one of those that I looked and I was like, man, this guy's got it, And so I appreciate you for being on the show. It's kind of like it feels like I'm talking to a celebrity right now, So thank you for being on, man. Yeah.
First of all, let me say thank you, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to say
Oh,
this. So it's money sign Carlos, right? The Cash App.
That's right. Yeah.
This is amazing. What you saying about me? I'm like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? I go, where's that guy you're talking about? Let me get my keys on the phone so they could be like,
Right? No way.
No, and it's not even like kissing your ass or anything. It's just like, no, I'm serious. It's great. I've heard you on the radio. I've heard, so it's.
Yeah, we've seen you come a long way, really.
Yeah, man.
Just do it on your own, be on the radio, just do your own thing now. Like you love to see it, man. You love to see it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Definitely appreciate it. And I used to call my, when Mark Berman, before he retired, him and I had this running joke. I used to be like, I'm the Black Mark Berman because. I was like, he's like, no, Sarge, just say that you're Mark Berman. I said, no, I'm the Black Mark Berman. I said, because everywhere you are, I am. So Mark, listen, that's one of the Mark is a very unique personality. And so,
right.
If he likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And he doesn't, because he's moving and shaking so much, he doesn't like a lot of people. I was one of the ones who he did like us because he respected, and what you said earlier. I appreciate that. Thank you. About my work ethic, because sometimes at certain places it's just me and Mark. So he'd look up and he'd be like, "Well, what you doing here, Sarge?" I was like, "Well, if you're gonna be here, I knew you were gonna be here, so I showed up as well."
There you go.
There you go.
There
the Black Mark Berman. That should be a new tagline.
I like that. That's gonna be. We're gonna change your name to that. Watch. Hey, So we know you. Like I said, I feel like you're a legend here in Houston. So just for our viewers that may not be too familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, so I know you're a vet, and again, thank you for your service. So I was going to ask you, how did you make that transition from being a vet to where you are now?
Well, so the really funny story when before I got out, so I got medically retired after the military, and that was due. My late wife was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, and so when I got out of the military, I was stationed in Virginia. We left there and we came here so she could come. I'm from Houston. She's from Georgia, but I wanted her to come here to have go to MD Anderson, which is by far one of the best, cancer research and cancer centers in America. So I wanted her to come here to do that, and so. In the midst of being here, I never really thought that I was going to, once I retired, I used to make this joke that I was going to become one of the people that stand at the door of Walmart that checks receipt.
The greeter.
I was going to be one of those people because, if you ever start to talk to them, they're really interesting. All of them have stories. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever met a veteran, A veteran always has stories. Hey, let me tell you
Oh,
about
yeah.
this one time that I was in boot camp and the drill sergeant. So I wanted to be one of those guys. But
Oh
so
man.
as it my time was limited, but I was able to get into there was this sports group that was going on, and they asked me to join. So when I first started out, I started out holding the camera. I was it was, I think it had to be 20, oh my goodness, maybe 2015, 2016, 20, yeah, 20, 2016, 2017, one of them. I started out holding the camera doing tour days when my guy Michael Toole and I went to Dallas. We had that's what the same day that TCU and Texas played at TCU. And then we had to drive from there over to Jerry's World at AT&T Stadium to watch the Patrick Mahomes led Texas Raiders
Texas
play
Tech.
the play Baylor Bears. So I was standing there. He was doing the recap. I was just holding the camera and pull the equipment. And so that group had a radio show. And so they, every Saturday I would go in, and it's like 7 or 8 guys in there, and I'm double dutching, trying to wait my turn to get onto the mic to say something. So it went from like 7 people to 4 people to 3 people, and I ended up being the host. Well, in the midst of all of that, in the midst of all of that, I was writing for Houston Style magazine, and the editor was like, "Hey, do you want to do sports?" Right? She's like, "Do you want to do sports?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool with that. I don't mind doing sports." And so it started from that radio show. I ended up doing some more radio shows as I continued to write for Houston Style magazine, and I was starting out where I was only credentialed to come to practices. If I was going to the Rockets game, they were giving me like one game every 3 weeks or something like that. And so I'm saying all that, I preface all that to say that where I'm at today is because I put in the groundwork and I wasn't afraid to work, and I did a lot of work for what people would say free. And I don't call it free really, because what I didn't get in monetary value, I gained in experience.
Right.
And so that's what got me to this point to where I'm at. And then when you all used to hear me on in the trenches with Indy Kalu on Sports Talk 790.
Yeah.
That was just Indy and I had developed a friendship away from that. And so he would ask me, because he respected the work that I did. He'd ask me, "Hey, you want to come sit in?" So I go sit in. I would call in first, then I started sitting in. Then I started. Greg was out at one point. I would go in and fill in for him. If Indy was out, I go in and fill in for him. And then that went to three days a week. And so to where I'm at now, it's I like to tell the story to people who are aspiring. I'm saying you can't get to the top in this business right off the bat unless you know somebody. You know somebody that's going to put you in that situation, of course. But if not, you're going to have to endure all the pains and the struggles and the late nights. And because I put it like this, when I first started out, I was driving from the Woodlands to Toyota Center, Minute Maid, NRG. So finishing up late there, getting back in the car, driving an hour back out to the Woodlands. So, and that was, sometimes the you have to come in for practice, leave, come back. So, I say all that to say, that's how I got my start. That's where I'm at today. I just put in a lot of work, put in a lot of groundwork, and I'm a walking, living example. Before we move on, and I just want to say this: I tell this story to most of the people that I meet who want to get into this business. And so for me, where I'm at today and where I'm going to go, it doesn't really matter for me so much. My mindset is I want to be able to get into a position where I open the door for others. And if you are sitting higher than me, I don't have a problem with that. That just means that I know somebody who is on this level now. I have a friend or I have a connection up here that's like, hey, if I need something, whatever the case may be. But my whole sole purpose, and when people come in, when I see people come in, to the press conference room, these new media members, the first thing I try to do is reach out to them and help them. And there's no jealousy there, because the way I look at it is like, can't nobody be Sarge but Sarge. So
right. You're
like
unique,
whatever I'm gonna do is what I'm gonna do. So
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get long-winded on you, but I just want to make sure that I put it out there.
No, it's fine. I actually enjoy it. Like you said,
That
every
was
vet's got his
that hits right here, yo.
Yeah,
It's
like
right here.
Yeah, I feel like if you would have done the Walmart greeter, this would have been a great conversation here, man.
Right.
But honestly,
my dad missed his calling because my dad was dead. He missed his calling. Man had 1,000,001 stories.
Yeah, no, but exactly. I'm gonna, to your point, honestly, obviously Rios and I and Poppy, my other co-host, who couldn't be here today, like, this is something that we do as a hobby, and we love it. And eventually, if something ever led to something, obviously, we all have our regular day jobs, right? But we never know. You never know if somebody's watching, somebody likes your stuff, whatever. But hearing your story, putting in the work and all that, it's very motivating because it's like you said, you're living proof of how you start. Basically, like Drake said, you started from the bottom, now you're here, and so now you're what you're doing. I see you. I follow your tweets. You're going to Texans practices. You go into Astros game. You go into all this. I mean, that's. In any of us that are kind of in this, it's like that's like the dream.
Right?
The advantage that I have too is that I am retired from the military, so that kind of gives me an advantage to be able to have the time to be able to do that. A lot of people aren't in my situation to be able to do that, but because I am retired, I'm able to go and to do different things. And that's why, sometimes I can have what some would consider outrageous hot takes because, people are only as honest as their income will allow them to be. And my income comes from the government. So the VA. Right. So I ain't gonna never badmouth the VA. But
never that. Never that.
No. Yeah.
we love the VA.
We love the VA. No, it's great to hear. Like I said, I always like hearing people's stories because you never know what you learn from people's stories. Everybody has their own unique stories, and then eventually you might even pick up something. You might pick up some advice that you didn't even know you needed. So I think that's always awesome to hear. So with that being said, we were talking about how you're in a lot of the Texans camps and all that. So one of the posts that you made, that you've made a couple of days ago, when you made today also, it talked about Jonathan Joseph.
Yes.
The effect that he's had with the corners. How, like in your perspective, how we've been to training camp, so we don't really see as much as you do. We went to training camp one day and that's it, And so we formulate our own little opinions here and there, but you're there almost at a daily. So how do you see the Jonathan Joseph just transitioning from player to coach, and how he's dealing with these young kids like Stingley and or all the corners that we got going on?
It's really funny because Jonathan Joseph is one of those people who, if you've ever met or seen Andre Johnson in person, he doesn't talk a lot. He's one of those guys that lets his actions speak louder than his words. Now, Jonathan will talk a little bit more. He's a little bit more. He's a little bit more, I don't want to say approachable because Andre's approachable too. He just has the face don't bother me. But
talk to him,
yeah. Jonathan Joseph is one of those guys who doesn't do a lot of talking. He just lets his actions do a lot of his talking. And so it's very interesting to see him out there in this new realm of, his new life. As far as coaching is concerned, because he has to take instructions. It's almost like he's a rookie all over again, which he is in the coaching realm. Mm-hmm. And so to see him, talking to these coaches and soaking up all that knowledge and then leaving from talking to those coaches, and now he's over here with the defensive backs where he just feels the most comfortable, because he had a pretty good NFL career. And so those guys respect him a whole lot. I asked, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, I asked Derek Stingley about the impact that Jonathan Joseph has. And he says, anytime you can play in a league that long and be, and have a good career like that, when he talks, I'm going to listen. And that's what they do. If they're not talking amongst themselves, they're definitely over there talking to Jonathan Joseph. And he is one of those guys where all he wants to do is for you to be the best that you can be and for the team to be successful. That's how he's always been. And when it's time to, Jonathan Joseph is one of those people that when it's time to do what needs to be done. It's time to do what needs to be done. You all remember when the Texans were on that 9-game winning streak? Was that
2018.
17, 18, something like that?
It was 2018 or 2019. No, 2018. It was Deshaun Watson's.
It was Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I think
first full season.
Isn't that the season they started 0-3 or something like that?
Yeah.
And then they just went on a whole 9-game winning streak. Yeah, I think it was.
And so we were in the locker room talking to Jadeveon Clowney, and practice was started, but Jadeveon wasn't finished talking to the media yet. Jonathan Joseph came up and said, "Hey, he done. It's time to go. Hey man, we got to go practice." And Clowney said, "Hey, you heard what my big brother said. It's time for me to go." And so, that's the type of person Jonathan Joseph is. And so that he's just taken everything that he was on the field and now imparting that and giving that knowledge to these younger players. And it isn't just the cornerbacks that are talking to him. It's all the defensive backs, safeties as well.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So it sounded like he just has his priorities straight. Like, hey, he's done. He's done. Like he knows, like it's like he's business. It's like it's time to go. It's it is what it is. So that's awesome. It's good to see.
It's a good mentor,
leader. As a good mentor, the good leader. Maybe create some leadership skills for these young kids that are coming. I'm saying young kids, these young men that are coming in.
Yes.
And
he's always in their ears too. Always in their ears, and he also reflects. What the head coach is, because D'Amico is that same way. When practice is over, D'Amico's around smiling, laughing, joking, or even like before practice starts, you can see him around there talking to his coaches, talking to Nick Caserio, just smiling. And as soon as it's time to start practicing, all about business.
Switches it out. Yeah, he's a guy that knows the difference.
Puts on the game face.
Yes,
puts on that game face. We what's funny is that we had so one of the guys that we had on and I talked to him pretty regularly here and there, Quentin Epps. You remember he was a safety for us or whatnot. And so it's kind of funny now, about 10, 11 years ago, we were watching these guys on that Bulls on Parade style defense, JJ Watt, Quentin Epps, Jonathan Joseph, D'Amico Ryans before he left or whatnot. And it's funny how all of them, except for like JJ Watt, they're all like coaching. Quentin is over there with I think he's with Judson University over there in Illinois as their coach. And, Jonathan Joseph's getting to this coaching. Obviously, D'Amico, he's now our head coach.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy just like seeing these guys like not about 11 years ago. And certainly now they're like the coaches. They're the guys that are doing this now as coaches, which is crazy. They were the young men at that time, and now they got the leadership role. And it's just crazy seeing that. It makes me feel old, honestly.
Me too. And I knew that Jonathan Joseph would transition into where he's going right now, because he's a person that can also relate to people. Like he's a people person. Like I say, he if you engage him in conversation, he'll talk to you. It's funny because when in the old locker room, as you walk into the locker room, his locker was the first locker on the defensive side. So because it was split in the halves. Offensive side was on the backside, defensive side was over here. As soon as you walk in, his locker was right there. And so he was the first. I wouldn't talk to anybody before I would stop and talk. And I'd be like, "Mr. Joseph, how's it going?" And then we start talking. We'll talk about everything else outside of football. I mean, just like it doesn't. We'll talk about the college games from the past weekend. His son playing football in South Carolina. His daughter in soccer. He's just one of those guys that that can relate and just talk about anything. So I knew that would, when I found out that he was going to be in this program as far as becoming a coach, I said, hands down, he has the knowledge, he has the skills, and he has the relatability to be able to reach these players.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, it's very relatable to our head coach himself. It seems like he's down to earth. It seems like people respect. I mean, obviously, people respect him, and it just seems like it's all a connection, really, from the top all the way down to, all around. So I don't know about you, but so I wanted to talk about the effect that D'Amico Ryans, had on not just the team, obviously now, but on the city itself. So. We had Tyler Milner from Sports Radio 610 on, and he was when we talked about the D'Amico effect, he said, along with us, we thought it's crazy how we thought about this at the same time. It's like we didn't think the Texans were going to go for him. You know, we thought they were going to hire somebody else or whatever. I mean, come on, that was during the time that Josh McCown was somehow in the running. You know, like why? And so, you know, it was just one of those things like it was very like out of reach or whatnot. And then suddenly, you know, Easterby thing happens, he's gone, and then suddenly this, you know, I don't know where, you know, not out of nowhere, but like D'Amico Ryans is now head coach. And to me, as soon as I saw that, I was like, it's like, you know, the Wizard of Oz now. Like this is the way it should be. Like this is the way things should be. Yeah, like now, like this feels like it's going in the right direction. You know, with D'Amico, and it was a breath of fresh air because I'm not gonna lie to you, I respect Lovey, but after that, after that season, I was like, it still didn't seem like we were going to go anywhere. And then don't even get me started with David Culley, because I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw David Culley, I was like, I don't think he's gonna last that long, you know. And then, but
look at him now. He's on the beach somewhere counting his money.
Well, you know what's so crazy? I just seen Coach Culley last month. John Lucas had a charity golf tournament, and you know he still lives in the city of Houston.
I did not know.
Does he? Oh wow!
He still lives in the city of Houston, so I got a chance to talk with him off the record, and let's just say it was hilarious, and informative. And
got it. I got you.
I was like, Coach Culley, are you serious? He's like, hey, you know how he talk. Hey man, I'm just
hey man. Yeah.
Hey, man. You know that's right.
Like, is it wrong that we can all kind of imitate the way that the colleagues are like, hey man, like,
hey man, come on now, man,
come on, man. Yeah. So no, and I figured, I'm sure there's a side to both stories. You know, there's a side to every story. So, you know, it's like, yeah, you can not media wise, but like publicly, yeah, you can say all this stuff, but I'm sure that he has a different story to what actually, you know, what happened and what was going on around that time as well. But and then, you know, again with D'Amico Ryans, like I said, going back to that, it just felt like a breath of fresh air. Rios brought up a point that we, you know, when we were searching for a new head coach, I think you explained it, Rios, how he's a younger coach, and what was it?
Yeah, so basically like going with the older coaches, they're kind of set in their ways. They're going to basically try to, you know, make the square peg fit in the circle versus the younger head coach. You know what? Let me play to my players' strengths. I'm not set in my ways, willing to improvise, adapt, versus like an older coach. Sometimes you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, type of mentality.
Yeah. So with that being said, with D'Amico, on like how, you know, again, since you're there most of the time, what do you see? I know you told us that, you know, when it's time for business, D'Amico puts his game face on, and afterwards, you know, it's all hey, let's hang out kind of a thing. When you see D'Amico coach, like can you explain to us what your thoughts are as soon as you see him coach, or how do you see that happening?
Yeah, and it's funny that you all bring up that point about the older coaches being set in their ways. David Culley had been an assistant for so long, where when he became head coach, he didn't have no ways. All his ways were assistant coach ways. I mean, I don't know if you all remember the story or not, but after the first day of training camp, David Culley came to the podium and he said, you know, practice was over, and I was looking around for the head coach to come and, you know, get in the middle and talk to us. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute,
I am the head coach.
Yeah, and so
I remember that. I was like, this is gonna be a long year.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that D'Amico didn't say that, but you know, with David Culley, then you have Lovie Smith, who was definitely set in his ways. I mean, because he's old school and his way had been successful for him in the past, and so he's at a point now where he's like, you know, hey, look, this is my way, this is how I'm going to do it. Which, you know, side note, that's why we didn't see, even when he was healthy, Derek Stingley Jr. at his full potential, because he's not a zone defense. He's not a zone cornerback. He's a man cornerback.
Yeah,
and you keep putting him. You know, he's better at guarding a person than he is guarding an area of grass. But that Tampa 2 defense that he never won, and I don't even know if you all remember or not, but you know, he didn't start blitzing until late. And I specifically asked him, I asked him the year prior when he was a defense coordinator, then the next year when he was defensive coordinator and head coach on, do you feel like you should bring more pressure? He's like, well, we can get pressure with our front seven, and front four should be able to get enough pressure so that way we can play on the back end. I was like, you're never going to get that done.
Yeah. I'm like, how? Who's going to bring the pressure, bro?
So later on that year, he switched it up and started blitzing a little bit more. So I prefaced all that to say, yes, you had two coaches prior to DeMeco Ryans that the players respected. They respected the longevity of Cully in the league. They respected of Coach Cully. They respected the success that Lovie Smith had in the NFL. With DeMeco Ryans, it's totally different because now not only are they seeing a former player, like a former player who's been out here, who's been in the trenches, David Culley and Lovie Smith hadn't even experienced the level of success that DeMeco Ryans had.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he becomes a part of a successful franchise in the San Francisco 49ers. And in the last, 2 years leading their defense, and they're seeing what he's been able to do with the defense at the San Francisco 49ers, not only with the superstar players that he had, but with some of those players that people didn't think were going to be good players, and he was able to bring out the best in them. And so when he steps onto the field, he brings that energy. He brings that, I want to win for my coach. I want to, when I say that the last two training camps have been horrible as far as energy is concerned.
Yeah.
But this one right here, I've never seen. Listen, there's so many players flying to do what you need me to do. What you need me to do. Every rep, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jonathan Grenard said that today in a press conference. He's like, every rep is like a playoff rep or a Super Bowl rep. It's like we're out there trying to win that rep so we can show, the Coach Ryans that, we deserve. And just his demeanor, makes you want to perform. You add that in with the knowledge that he has from playing the game and the success that he had as being a coach. And he still, listen, first day of training camp, out on the field. And I'm saying to myself, hey, where's Coach? He's like, he's right there. I was like, right where? He was standing next to some players. And if he didn't have on a different set of clothes, I would have thought that it was just a player who didn't dress out.
Yeah.
He looks like he could still put on the pads and give seven good snaps. But he has brought that energy back to not only to the team, but to the organization and to the franchise. And, when you all started this statement off, I'm going to tell you like this. There's two people, or really one main person, that every Houston Texan fan should be thanking for DeMeco Ryans being here, and that's Hannah McNair.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
I agree 100%. 100%. Even it's funny because, how you mentioned a different level of energy this training camp. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Rios and I have been to the last I think we've been to training camp since Brock Osweiler was here. Well, at least I have.
Oh, wow.
So before that, back when it was,
we haven't missed it. Yeah.
Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett.
Yeah. So, so we've been through some quarterbacks, but seeing we went, I believe, what was it last? Was it this?
We went last year.
No.
Well, let's start with last year's. So, the energy level last year, right? It was dead. We got there maybe 5 minutes before it opened. Usually, there's a long line. Pulled up 5 minutes before it opened. Just walked right in.
Right.
Barely anybody there. Got to the very front, and just the energy from the players was just flat. And then the fans, they were just making jokes, laughing, like, man, this is gonna be a long year.
It felt like I felt like people were there just because they had to be there because they were fans.
Yep.
This season was like because my buddy AD from the H-Town Rundown podcast, he's posting on the Texans channel or whatever. He's posting like, yo, we're here, and he's there like at 5, like close to
5 in the morning
a.m. or something, and there was already a line at that time, which is something that we hadn't seen. Rios and I showed up late this year too, like we did last year. Last year we showed up like 8 o'clock, whatever opening time was, and we got a good spot. This season we tried doing that again. Nope, we were out in the heat. I got red. I got sunburned. We were out, but guess what? We still
got me a nice little tan.
Yeah, I got a little tan. But guess what, man? It was a newfound energy, and that's like, this is what it felt like being a Texans fan again. Like,
yes.
it was. This is the energy that was missing, and again, everybody that I saw that, when the players come out and start like signing autographs at the end or whatnot, Hannah and Cal were out there, and I remember like everybody like saying, being all nice. Before a year ago, everybody was all critical,
Yes.
This year, everybody's all thankful, ready to go.
Yeah,
all the criticism on Twitter, like, it's still there, but like now it's like everybody's like, thank you for all this and that, and like you said, I think ownership now has taken a step up, and in the right direction.
They're listening.
They're listening now too.
Yeah, and it's big. Another thing is, so these owners are very competitive amongst each other. Right. Like, they're very competitive amongst each other. They talk a lot of trash to each other too.
Sure.
I've never had the privilege of being in a room with billionaires, talking trash to each other, but they say it's pretty hilarious, And
I'm sure they take a good dig at Jerry Jones every once in a while.
Right.
That I want to see.
Right. And so Jones. You don't want to be the owner. You don't want to be the owner in the room who has only been able to produce a total of 11 wins in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Something has to change. Something has to give. Some things need to happen. You got to, shake some stuff up. And so, one of the reasons, like I said, that D'Amico Ryans is here is because Hannah McNair pushed for him to be here. And, they talked to him personally and said all that stuff that was going on, previously, that's out the window.
Good. Yeah.
We want you to bring, we want you to come in here, and we want you to revitalize this organization. We want you to re-energize this organization. And that is exactly what he has done. I mean, I haven't seen the fan base this excited since 2018, 2019, something like that.
Right. Exactly. It's a
2019 was the last playoff appearance, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Before a small piece of my soul died against the Chiefs, man.
Stop it! I hate that play. Every time we talk about it, that play is just, Let's run it down.
The worst fake punt in history. Like, why?
Worst fake punt in history. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
Right.
Oh, goodness gracious. Anyway, so no. Again, that's out the window now. D'Amico's here. Let's now my liver can start recovering.
I need therapy for that game.
Therapy.
That's one of the games that, sitting there watching, I'm saying to myself, I don't understand. I didn't understand what was going on. And then when it started to happen and everything started to roll downhill, I said, it's typical Bill O'Brien. See, sometimes, somebody needed to tell Bill O'Brien that his last name was O'Brien and not Belichick.
Yeah.
Because, I think he got confused.
Oh, yeah, he got confused a lot. And, outside of the legal issues that Deshaun Watson went through, I didn't like the fact that they never built a system for him. You know how in Kansas City, they built a system around Patrick Mahomes. And, in Baltimore, they built a system around Lamar Jackson. They're building a system in Cincinnati. They built a system around Joe Burrow. It wasn't like that here. It was always my way or the highway. This is how we're going to do it. All right. So, hey, look, I call wide receiver screen. We're going to run wide receiver screen.
And we'd see how much of an effect that took. Rios and I would watch these games and be like, oh, that's a Bill O'Brien play call. You could tell which ones they were. Like Deshaun Watson.
Going to be run through the A gap, run through the B gap, wide receiver screen, punt. Rinse and repeat.
And I want to say this. I don't know. I don't know what type of offense that the Houston Texans are going to have this year. But as we get further and further into training camp, and as they're starting to install more of Bobby Slowick's system, I'm starting to see these small little wrinkles and adjustments that is going to help players like Nico Collins. That's going to help, players like Damian Pierce. That's a system that's being built around, CJ Stroud. But if something was to happen to CJ, it's okay. Hey, insert the quarterback here, and we should be able to keep this thing moving. So as they're going forward, they're still it's still going to be a vanilla playbook, of course, in preseason, but you're going to get a chance to see a glimpse of some of the things that they're doing. And if they can if they can transition that from training camp into the regular season, you're going to see a pretty good, a dynamic offense.
Exactly. So we're reaching that halftime, as I like to call it, halfway point. So this is where we completely leave the sports part of our show behind, and we talk a little bit about what are we drinking. So Rios, he's our beer savant here, and usually we like promoting like local beers, not because they pay us, but just because hey, we love the H, right? H sound, and
it's easier to buy.
it's easier to buy, yeah. So this is, I think Rios, you're going to he's introducing a beer that I bought him back from Argentina. I was in Argentina for about 3 weeks. And so I told Rios, hey, I tried this beer down here, give it a shot at the beer of the week or whatever. And it just so happens that it happened to be the show that Sarge is here. So, all right, Rios, you ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Rios is beer of the week, y'all.
All right, so you got the hope of the bottom since the sticker came off.
Yeah, so we were hanging out, and he was supposed to try it over here, and he's like, and then the sticker fell off. So this is a beer. It's called Patagonia. That's the company. Amber Lager from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. Go ahead, Rios.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. So I did a little research. It's surprisingly, it's all about Anheuser-Busch. It's pretty odd, they're being in Argentina, but. So I tried it, and it's not like any beer I've had here before. Like you mentioned, they don't have the same preservatives stuff like that over there. It doesn't taste like a beer at all, honestly, which is not bad, honestly. It's pretty citrusy. Like you can taste like a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of orange in there. It's really refreshing. It doesn't taste like a beer. It's real easy to drink. This is one of those that probably sneak up on you, like 3 or 4 deep, because like I said, it doesn't feel like a beer. It doesn't have the same preservatives. It's not as hoppy as other beers are. This is really good. I'm glad you brought it.
Like it?
I did. I'm glad you brought it.
How many CJ Strouds would you give it out of 10?
This is a 10. This is really good.
You like it? Yeah,
I do.
So if y'all are ever in Buenos Aires, Argentina, try it. It's Patagonia. That's the name of the beer, and it's an Amber Lager. It's really good. I fell in love with it when I was over there in Argentina. I don't know if anybody. I mean, it's owned by Anheuser-Busch, so I'm sure it's somewhere we can get it here in the States somewhere.
Eventually, I was looking into it to see if it's how possible it is to get it shipped over here. It looks like they're going to be sending it to like the Pacific Northwest first, and I think eventually it'll make its way down here.
Yeah, give it like 10 years. We'll see.
But yeah, this is one of those. It'll sneak up on you because it does not taste like a beer at all.
It does not. Sarge, do you have like a drink of preference by any chance? Like, what do you drink?
I don't really. Yeah, I don't drink liquor like that. So I can't. I don't even know the last time I actually had a drink. My wife and I were talking about that, but it's so funny. The beer, because I'm not a big beer drinker, and so when I was stationed in Germany,
my motherland, my grandfather's German.
Yeah, they say Germany has the best beers, and so
they do.
I was over there. I tasted some beers. Like I said, I've never been a big beer drinker, but the beer that I used to love, they stopped making it.
What? Yeah. Do you remember the name by any chance?
Yes. And don't laugh at me when I say this because it's the equivalent to ordering a Shirley Temple at a bar.
Oh man!
You ever heard of Not Your Father's Root Beer?
Yeah, I have. I actually like it. It's pretty good. I like those. They're good.
Yeah, they don't make them no more. I can't find them.
Oh.
I've looked in the stores for it and I can't find it. But if I used to love that. Hey, listen, it'll make me have to go do the number 2, but still, I loved it. Listen, the very first time I had it, I was at Southern's homecoming, and my frat brother said, "Hey man, you want to try this?" And I was like, "All right, cool." When I tasted, I was like, "Damn, this is really good." It's like it's beer, but it tastes like root beer.
Root beer.
So I had like 3 of them, right? And so next thing I know, I'm like, I'm buzzing, and my stomach is hurting. So I'm in their student center on the toilet, blowing it up. I'm blowing it up, and I'm like, yeah. I'm just buzzed.
He falls asleep halfway.
Right. I was out of there. So after I finished, I went and I sat in he had an SUV. I sat in his SUV for about an hour, got up, drunk about 3 more.
There you go. Sleep it off.
Did you have to go again at the student center after those?
We had to pull over on the way home.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
We had to pull over on the way home.
I love that.
Hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
You gotta go. What was it? Did you ever watch the Dave Chappelle show?
Yes.
What was it when they had they had the sketch about that, and they call it fecal matters or whatever, and so they made a little sketch about like Charlie Murphy's great at it. Like Charlie Murphy's great, but I don't want to give it too much into it. But whenever y'all this comes out, check out that the episode of Dave Chappelle show where they're talking about, they call it what do you call it, the cockadookie and the whatever it was. It was just Dave Chappelle at his finest, y'all. Dave Chappelle at his finest.
Sure. Man. Anyway, that takes me back.
It was like a protest or something like that, like in the doing like I think it was like during like the black and white stuff, and then they were
during segregation. He went to the white only restroom and blew it up.
And he was like arrested for it, and then like there was a protest outside, and some guy and it was like Charlie Murphy holding a sign that said like fecal matters, and I was like, God, the play on words were so funny. Yeah. Like it was the most immature sketch ever, but it's funny. Like I
gotta watch that. I definitely gotta see that one.
I was 20 years old. I was having the time of my life watching that.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. All right, so we talked about Jonathan Joseph's effect, D'Amico Ryan's, effect as a head coach, and how much he's just revitalized the team and the city. How much it's so funny how it's just not funny, but like it's so great how one man can just completely change the entire how do you call it, fandom of the Texans. You go from last year where there was almost no fans at the how do you call it, at the training camp, and now it was like jam packed. Every day has been like jam packed.
Or fan appreciation day where there was more Jaguars fans than Texas fans, and we're sitting front and center of like the owner's box, like, "Hey, Cal, we're the only Texas fans in the section, bro. Like, we're surrounded by teal. Like, what is this?"
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, if that's what it had to take for this to happen, the
ownership, ownership knew that, knew what was going on as well. I mean, like you said, the morale of the city, and they knew that they had the last 2 hiring processes, before the last 2 hiring processes before they hired D'Amico Ryans, they totally botched it. Like they botched that entire thing. And so when the fan base is looking at the ownership and saying to themselves, like, if y'all are serious, then go out and get us a serious coach. If you're really serious about it, go out and get us a real coach. Go out there and get us somebody that we're going to be able to look at and say, hey, he can get us back to where we need to be. He can get us back to, winning the AFC South, getting into the playoffs, and, with the right pieces and doing the right things, potentially, making an AFC championship game. But, the last 2 hires before D'Amico Ryans, the fan base just didn't take them seriously.
Right.
Like why?
Yeah.
It could have been worse. It could have been Josh McCown. And I would have just threw all my stuff away. No, I'm done.
You saw how much
almost Josh.
Yeah, it was almost Josh. Like it's crazy because you saw how much heat the Colts got with Jeff Saturday. Can you imagine what it would have been with Josh McCown, who I think he was like a wide receivers coach for his son's high school at the time. I can't remember what he was, but
a volunteer.
And then you just move up strictly to the head coaching position for an NFL team.
We would have been eviscerated in the media. Without
any groundwork.
he messed himself up because the Texans asked him a year or two prior, hey, just come in and be an assistant, and then you can work your way up. You be an assistant, you work your way up, maybe the offensive coordinator, and then after offensive coordinator, will give you the head coaching position. So if he just came in and if he'd have just played his cards right, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to jump straight to the top. And they're like, hey, look, even Mike Vrabel had to wait a year,
Right.
But he didn't want to do that. And now he's an assistant with some, it's not with the
Carolina. I think it's with Carolina because
Carolina.
He's in Carolina.
Yeah,
Carolina right now.
You're an assistant over there. You could have been, you could have had the job, but it worked out the best for the fan base and for the organization.
Thank God.
It did. Thank God. Another subject I want to talk about, and I totally forgot to say this. So the wide receiver core.
Yes.
It seemed, a lot of people on the outside, they see it as that's like the weak spot. Some people don't. I mean, I've seen some great highlights from the wide receiver core from guys like Hutchinson, guys like Mechie, and
Tank Dell,
Tank Dell, which I'm glad. By the way, kudos to John Mechie for coming back. That is amazing. And what a recovery. And he's killing. I mean, from what I saw, I mean, at least the day that I went, he was just breaking routes left and right here and there. But the wide receiver core, it almost seems like it might be a sleeper to the point where they have there's low expectations from the media, but like they might actually surprise some people. What do you think, Sarge? What do you think about that?
So when you look at the wide receiver core with Robert Woods, Noah Brown, Nico Collins, and then you have John Mechie, you have Tank Dell. That's a group that's going to go through a learning curve themselves this year because of the new offensive system that's being installed by Bobby Slowick. And you have a rookie quarterback that is learning to play in the NFL on top of learning the NFL game speed and learning everything that entails. It was easy at Ohio State once you got to a certain point, because you knew everything that was going on, you got comfortable. But now, it's uncomfortable for you because you're learning so much. And so the advantage that this wide receiver group has is that they do have a rookie quarterback that is damn good. And once he learns how to play the game on an NFL level, I'm not saying that he can't play the game of football. Right. He just is not ready to play the game on the NFL level yet. And that's understandable. He's only had 7 training camp practices. And so, but when you look at that wide receiver group, I think that one of the players that is going to benefit the most from having CJ Stroud is Nico Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Nico Collins, I know that he was drafted very late. I know that he did not play. I don't think he played his last year at Michigan. He sat out. I think that was during the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah.
He sat out, and then he gets into the NFL, and he's had a plethora of injuries. But a fully healthy Nico Collins, what I want people to realize is that Nico has a huge catch radius, and he's a big wide receiver who has, he has speed, and he has a big catch radius, and he's not afraid to go up and catch the ball. The issue that they had last year is that Davis Mills and Nico Collins couldn't get on the same page because Davis Mills couldn't get the ball into any of the vicinity where Nico Collins can go get it. Even a bad pass to Nico from CJ Stroud, if as long as it's in his catch radius, he's going to do his best to try to get it. And so I think that a fully healthy Nico Collins, you're going to see a breakout year for him. I would love to see what Xavier Hutchinson is going to be if they give him the reps. Right. If he gets the reps that he needs going forward, I don't want to pencil him in as a starter, of course not, but someone that could come in and give Nico Collins a breather here or there. But where they're really gonna thrive at is Tank Dell and John Mechie III are 2 guys that run very, very good routes.
Right.
Very, very good routes. And they're very dangerous once they get the ball in their hands. The only thing that I'm afraid of when it comes to Tank Dell is him getting hit because he doesn't have that NFL weight on him just yet. Like he's a small guy, and he's small in stature, and so by year 3 we'll probably see a little bit different. He plays to the level and has the heart of a Steve Smith Sr., but he doesn't have the body. Because you remember Steve Smith Sr.
Steve Smith, he was jacked. He was jacked.
Steve Smith would drop you in a second. Remember that? He would fight anybody that came along his way. I love that.
And so Tank has that. And when you look at John Mechie even has a nice stature, a nice frame. So that's the only thing that Tank Dell is missing right now. But if they can get the ball into his hands and if they can use him, so I'm hoping that he goes and he gets a chance to watch tape of Wes Welker, Danny Amendola. I can't think of the other receiver that they had in New England, but those guys were shifty. And they were able to catch the ball and not. I know Burkhead was part of that, but he was coming out of the backfield. I know
Amendola. That name. You said Burkhead. I'm sorry.
The bulkhead offense.
Yeah.
The saddest moment of my fan though, one of the TV announcers called it the bulkhead offense. I'm
like, stop it.
I'm like, Lord, take me now. I'm done. Take me now. I had enough.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
To watch the Wes Welkers and the Danny Amendolas, and if they can get him to run those type of routes, those guys never took hard hits. They were always in the right spaces, in the right spot at the right time for Tom Brady, and they were able to, do a lot once they got the ball in their hands. And so the wide receiver group isn't as bad as some people are trying to make it. But they're not at the level of, if I had to rank the strengths of the Houston Texans, I would say their offensive line, starting offensive line, their defensive backfield, their front 7, and then the wide receiver group. I'm not even, no, I take that back. No, yes, I'll put the wide receiver group over the quarterbacks and the running backs because I don't know what these running backs are going to do yet. And, quiet is kept. I don't know when you all will be able to make it back out to training camp, but the next time you all make it back out to training camp, I want you to watch this running back group because we know that Dameon Pierce is clearly the starter. Yeah. There's a lot of competition going on between Valladay.
And Singletary.
And there's another player. Hold on, just give me 1 second because I gotta find his.
Boone.
Mike Boone.
Mike Boone, 22. Mike Boone,
Mike Boone had some runs
today. They all did.
Woo. But listen, they look good. So that unknown for the running back group. But yeah, the wide receivers are just taking some heat right now because nobody knows what they're going to be. We've never seen, Robert Woods and Noah Brown play in the system, and John Mechie's coming back from, after fighting and winning his battle with leukemia.
Right. I know you brought up. I was going to ask you. You brought up the offensive line being top tier. How much of a hit do you think this offensive line took today? Knowing that Quessenberry just went out with an MCL tear.
We made it this whole time with me being civilized. With me watching my words, my vernacular.
Hey, man, it's all good.
Trying not to cuss, trying to make a great first impression because I want to come back.
Oh, go on.
Man, look, let me tell you something, man. Let me preface my statement by saying,
Go for it.
I put my hand over my heart a lot because, I almost died from COVID. And so I put my hand over my heart, and because I get to feel my heartbeat and it keeps me grounded, right? So I'm putting my hand over my heart first for Scott Quessenberry and the injury that he suffered. But on the flip side of that, probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to the Texans, probably one of the best things that could have happened to him, because at least now they ain't got to cut you. At least now you can get your check from being on the IR
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can sit on the sideline and say what you would have done if you would have been playing.
Right.
Clearly, that job was going to go to Juice Scruggs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Listen, and like I said, the man just got hurt today, so I don't want to pile on him. But
right.
I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Hell, half of the time last season, Scott Quessenberry didn't even know that he was playing football. Am I the only one that's seen that?
He was the worst center I've seen in the league by far last year.
I'm saying to myself, who are you blocking? These have to be imaginary people because all I see you doing is pushing the air.
He was playing zone coverage, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, he was playing zone. Yeah.
He's guarding grass.
Hey, I don't think I seen Scott Quessenberry pick up one stunt. Listen, they talk bad about the way Kenyon Green played last season. Well, a lot of that came from him trying to help out Scott Quessenberry as well. And so, you know, I hated to see the man being rolled off the cart, but, you know, as he was being rolled off the cart, in the back of my mind, I was saying, nah. Hey. Juice.
Goodbye.
Remember, Sarge doesn't work for anybody. He works in the VA.
Exactly.
Sarge don't work for nobody.
It was a blessing in disguise, and Juice is having a hell of a training camp.
Yes,
D'Amico Ryans pointed that out. I asked him about Juice Scruggs, and I mean, he couldn't stop smiling. He was happy. And that young man, and you know what? And one of the reasons why I'm pulling for Juice so hard is because two years ago, Juice didn't even know if he was going to be able to play football again.
Right.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, man. I mean, you know, Quessenberry got brothers, right? Listen, one is still in the NFL, right? Like one plays for the Bills. Doesn't one play for the Bills? And I don't know what the other one that was.
The other one wasn't the other one for the Titans or something like that. I thought
he was in the Titans at one point. David Quessenberry.
Yeah, well, he was with the Texans too at one point, right? David Quessenberry. Yeah.
I know one of his brothers was here last year. Who was a veteran. I think he played at the Naval Academy. I say all that to say that he has a support system. He gonna be all right. He gonna get him a check. They're gonna get him the best doctors and the best care that they can, you know, since he's still part of the team. But I mean, you was gonna lose your job anyway, bro. Sorry.
What's that song came out of my head? You about to lose your job.
Yes.
Lose your job.
Yeah.
What was it? So speaking of Juice, man, like when we were there at the
he's big. I forget how big he was.
He's huge, But he came over, he signed my ball and everything, you know, my autograph ball, and he was like the nicest dude ever. He was really nice, and I was like, man, we were like, hey man, you know, we look forward to seeing the season. He's like, yeah, man, we're doing our best we can. I mean, typical answer, but man, his attitude was just great about it.
He thanked us for coming out. He said it to every person he shook hands on. You know, thank you so much for coming out. Like very, very courteous, very polite. Like
so, Sarge, I got to tell you a funny story before I ask you my main question.
Oh man,
Rios knows. Just chill for a second. Let me tell Sarge the story because you about to laugh on this one. All right, I didn't say leave. I just said
I need a refill.
Okay. All right. So I go in and I'm just like we went during Legends Day or something like that. Legends morning when the Legends were there
on Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah, it was like the Legends autograph signing or whatnot. So I'm like, all right. So I'm looking at the Legends. And I'll be honest with you, I am a Texans fan and all that, but like I saw some Legends. Like,
are you? You're from California. You're from California.
They give me mess all the time because I was raised in California for like 4 years. Anyway, so I'm looking at the Legends tent and I was like, gosh.
You're always in San Antonio. Don't forget that. You're always in San Antonio.
So I'm looking at the tent and I'm like, I don't really recognize most of these dudes because they don't even have like the name tags on them, right? And I'm thinking, I wonder who they are. Like, but then I saw one and I was like, that's Owen Daniels. I was like, that is Owen Daniels. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why is Owen Daniels out here? Like, does he need the money that bad? Whatever. You know, I'm over here thinking like, whatever. So that was in the back of my head. I was like, oh, that's Owen Daniels, right? So again, no name tag. So I'm like all confused. All right. So I end up getting close to the line. I'm just excited. I was like, man, I saw Owen Daniels 12 years ago, just getting touchdowns from Matt Schaub. All right, cool. So I get there and I shake his hand. I'm like, Owen Daniels, man, it was great meeting you, big fan or whatever, right? And he's like quiet or whatever, like, and then he like signs my ball. And I'm thinking, oh man, he's probably having a bad day. And I was like, all right, Owen, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, right? And I go about my way to find Rios, texted him, and then I was like, let me look at my ball. And I see the signature, and I was like, hold up, 88? Owen Daniels was 81. And I looked and I was like, oh, damn, that was Gary Graham. I'm over here calling him Owen Daniels this whole time. He didn't say anything, and he called
not just once, not just twice, three times.
Several times I'm over here calling him Owen Daniels, and it's Garrett Graham the whole time. And I was like,
I would have threw the ball. I would have threw the ball at your face. I'm not signing this. Get out of here.
What up? So I'm gonna show you on the screen though, and I saw a side-by-side picture. You tell me if you kind of wouldn't get confused.
I mean, with a helmet on, everyone looks the same.
So, hey, look, Carlos, you trying to get me in trouble because
I'm
not gonna say nothing because then they're gonna be like, oh, so we all look alike.
Not gonna lie, hey Sarge, I said the same thing.
Yeah.
They all don't look alike. Come on now.
We all look alike. Huh?
I was like, no. When they wear the helmet, I was like, nah. Owen Daniels and Garrett Graham look very similar to me.
Did they have on the helmet though?
They did not.
They did not.
Well, how did you get them confused?
No, so it was like from the back at first, and then I was like, but I didn't see. No, I didn't see the tattoo. You know how Owen Daniels got the tattoo and Garrett Graham doesn't. But I didn't even notice that.
You know, so hold on. Side note, you know, like I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, right?
We do. Right. Let's go to the next question. Like, how are your Cowboys going to do this season?
So that's the last. So that's all the show we got for today. No, I'm just kidding. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I wouldn't recognize. I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't recognize Owen Daniels if he walked up to me and shook my hand. I don't even know if I could recognize Matt Schaub, to be honest.
Oh, I can recognize Matt Schaub. Yeah,
there's only certain Texans legends that I recognize, and like Indy. If I'm with Indy, then I know if Indy is Indy, Trap J, you know, who else? That's some other people that that's some other people that I think I know by face and not by name. So I know some of them, but like some of them, when they be around, I'd be like Indy. I say Indy. Who is that? He's like, oh, that's no, man. Indy knows all the legends, man.
You give him like, hey, you know that guy that had the same name as you? Yeah. What's his name? No, but I just thought I'd share that funny story with you. I was like, I felt like such an idiot. I was like, great. I got Garrett Graham, and he was nice enough to sign my ball. So like, here you go, bro. Like, all right.
He's a bigger man than me. I would not have signed it at all.
Yeah.
What if he'd have told you? So you think we all look alike, bro?
Bro, I would have
died. I would have died right then and there. Call the paramedic. Come get me.
I would have been like, no, I got friends, bro. I got friends. Like,
I know this many.
I know like five, man. We good. It's cool.
My supervisor's one.
Yeah. It's no, so that it was just like an embarrassing story, but I thought it was funny, so I thought I'd share it with you. But now my last question here with you. So, and I feel like I already know the answer to it because we were talking about it. You see Davis Mills, CJ Stroud, and even Case Keenum competing. Who do you feel? And it's not because you hang out with over there, but just who do you feel? And I know the answer to this, but like, who do you feel is going to be Week 1 starter?
A quarterback?
Yeah. I have to ask because I feel like I already know the answer.
Because I was like, wait a minute, ain't that another question? Because we already know the answer to this one. Mm-hmm. I thought you was gonna be like, hey, Sarge. So
that's why I had a different one. I was going to put the Cowboys.
Hey, Sarge, how did you meet your wife? But okay, so listen,
we'll talk about that too.
There's outside of injury, there's no possible way that CJ Stroud would not be starting day one. I mean, I'm sorry, the season opener for the Houston Texans. I mean, the difference is this: is Davis Mills is in his third year. And it isn't that he's making mistakes because he's still trying to learn the playbook.
Mm-hmm.
He's making football mistakes. He's making mistakes, football mistakes, whereas missing wide open wide receivers, underthrowing wide receivers still, overthrowing wide receivers still, not seeing the field. And you're going into your third year. You can't make those type of mistakes. The rookie can make those type of mistakes.
Right.
CJ Stroud can make those type of mistakes because he's still learning. And so, yes, CJ had what, 2 days, 3 days where he threw interceptions. I got to go back and look at my notes.
It was 2 days. Yeah, 2 days back to back.
2 days he threw 3 interceptions. If I'm not mistaken.
Today.
Yeah, and he didn't have any, right? He didn't have any today, but I listen, let me put it like this. That's Steven Nelson interception yesterday.
Yeah.
Clearly a bait job.
Mm-hmm.
CJ don't know that. All CJ seen Tank Dell coming across. And he's like, he's open. He didn't see Steven Nelson sitting.
Baiting him. Yep.
So Steven baited him in like he was here. And when CJ dropped, CJ turned. When he turned, Steven Nelson just started slowly coming over. By the time he released the ball, he was there. He baited him. And so, a veteran quarterback drops back, holds him until he knows Tank is here. And now he's getting it out quick enough to where Steven Nelson can't jump that. Well, that type of play, what CJ did, is the same thing Davis is doing. But you're year 3.
Yeah.
He's 7 practices in the training camp. And so, yes, don't get me wrong. Davis Mills made a beautiful, beautiful pass to Xavier Hutchinson today that he dropped. And, he been up till today, he has been outplaying CJ Stroud. But I take that with a grain of salt because I'm like, he's a rookie. I feel like if you're looking at both players and the roles was reversed, Davis Mills will still be in the same spot as the backup quarterback. And I mean, if we keeping it, listen, I don't know how real you want to keep it on this show, but
we keep it 100.
We keep it real.
Go ahead.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Yeah, so if we keeping it a buck, shit, I would put like Case Keenum really should be the backup quarterback.
Same,
I agree.
What's Davis Mills going to teach CJ?
And nothing. And here's the funny part about it. It isn't that I hate Davis Mills. It's not. I think that Davis Mills has talent. Watching him play, in his third training camp. But I think that Davis Mills has talent. What Davis Mills doesn't have is the mental fortitude to play the position in Houston. And I say that he needs a new start. He needs to start
somewhere else.
Yes, because there's this cloud that just hangs over him, and mentally he can't. And mentally he just can't put it together. Framber Valdez, the pitcher for the Houston Astros, right?
Yeah. I know where you're going with this. I heard you say this before, and I love the fact that you were saying this because. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I was just gonna say that Framber said one thing that helped him become the pitcher that he became last year was he went and seen a sports psychologist. And he said when he went to see that sports psychologist, it cleared his mind. He said, I was overthinking. He said, I was overthinking on the mound and I was emotional. So when I start to overthink, I get emotional. You remember 2 weeks ago when the Rangers were in town and with 2 outs, he gave up 6 runs or something like that?
Yeah.
You notice, this is what, this side note, because I cover the Astros and I watch them so much and I'm at Minute Maid so much. When Framber gets frustrated, he gets sped up.
Yeah.
Because now he's pissed. So when normally he takes a long time to, he lets that pitch clock run down and then he'll pitch. When he gets pissed, it's sped up. It's come. He don't even care what Maldi, whatever sign you got, I don't care. I'm throwing this pitch that I want to throw.
Right.
And that's what I seen, last week because he got inside of his own head. I preface that to say when Davis Mills gets into his own head, he gets sped up. Here we go. And then the mistakes just happen all over the field. So the one play that you had, you've totally pushed that play to the back because of all these other plays that you had. And so he also is one of those guys, Davis went to Stanford.
Right.
So he's a thinker. And I've been saying this since last season, and I'm seeing it a lot now in training camp now. If Davis Mills would just play football, don't think football, play football. Jonathan Grenard said today that the one thing that that DeMeco Ryans and the defensive coaching staff is doing for them is teaching them not to think, as far as play with instinct first. Don't think, just play with instinct. So, hey, bam, I get beat. If it's a person on me, cool. I'm still trying to do what I need to do. But don't, now I gotta, let me try this other move. Just play. That's all I want you to do, just play. And if Davis Mills just play, you all have watched this team for, since Davis Mills has been here. You all have seen his starts.
Yeah.
Think about this. When Davis Mills is in the 2-minute offense, he's one of the best quarterbacks that you ever he's one of the best quarterbacks you're going to see. Mm-hmm. When he's not thinking and just playing in that 2-minute offense, he's bam, 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 let's go. Then the moment, even in that 2-minute offense, sometimes the moment he thinks, you be like, oh shit, he didn't thought so.
It's over.
Mm-hmm. It's over.
Now the instincts go out the window, the basic football goes out the window, and now because he wants to make the perfect play, not just the play, the perfect play. And sometimes in football, they don't need the perfect play; they just need a play.
Mm-hmm. We just need the first down.
No, and that's great. And I'm glad that you answered it that way. And the whole purpose of asking that question, like we all know that CJ was going to start. You're not going to pay your quarterback that much money to have him sitting down on the bench. And obviously, like even Titus Howard came out, I think this week saying, "Yeah, I just want to be the best I can so I can protect CJ." Like, he
says Larry Tunsil, their highest paid player, saying we all know it's a foregone conclusion.
So we know. It's just that I know that still, like even on Twitter, and I've seen comments too, like on YouTube, there's still a lot of people that make excuses for Davis. And it's like almost Reels and I have an ongoing joke. I'm like, the people that defend him that much, it's like you would say he also needs Barry Sanders. He also needs Jerry Rice. He also needs and Megatron, all these the 85 Bears defense, like you would name it. And so and the reason, again, back to my point, the reason I answered that question is because I'm glad that you don't just hear from us, you hear from people there, because it's a known fact. Davis is not going to be week 1 starter. It's just a given. This I feel like the fandom here, the energy that you provided with DeMeco coming over, it would just go away if CJ Stroud were to be sitting on the bench.
Taking a pin to a balloon.
Yeah. And you know what? It's the smoke. So a lot of that has to do with General Manager Nick Caserio. It's the smoke screen. Imagine, think about where he came from.
Right.
The New England Patriots. Wasn't Tom Brady on the injured list every week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every week. Is Tom Brady going to play?
Yeah. Exactly.
He's on there. He has a hangnail on the injured list.
Yeah. Hey, let's say there's going to be a quarterback position and let Davis take first team reps, and then make the people think that Davis has a chance, when in all actuality,
it's not. It's really not that.
It's a facade at this point. Yeah. Just a facade.
To bring your point, it's like, it's CJ first, and then it should be Keenum because he has the experience. He's been on other teams. He's been deep in the playoffs. Like, he's had that experience. So to me, it should be CJ, Case Keenum, and then Davis.
Your emergency quarterback, Davis.
Emergency
case of injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if San Francisco taught us anything, you need 3 quarterbacks. You can't go with 2 because if one get hurt, you're gonna get running back playing quarterback, and that disaster.
Yeah, which, by the way, one day we'll talk about my non-belief in Brock Purdy, but that's another story.
Oh, nice. Oh, definitely. So Sarge, we're coming up on the hour, so that's gonna be it for us today, man. I cannot thank
this
you
was
enough
fun.
for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Like
I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you coming on and like letting us know about yourself and all these funny stuff. I didn't even know that you had bathroom problems when it came to the Not Your Father's Rookie. That was amazing.
Bubble guts beer.
Bubble guts. Bubble guts.
Bubble guts beer.
Bubble guts beer.
Bubble gut beer. That's gonna be the clip on TikTok. I was sitting in the toilet doing this. All right, Sarge, I'm gonna end the show, but don't go just yet. But I'm just gonna end the show. But please, y'all follow Sarge. He's got some amazing input and some great takes. Also, follow Sarge at BigSargeSportz with a Z at the end. Great Twitter account. Follow him up. I think it's the same name on your Instagram account as well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And thank you guys. I also want to give a big shout out to our friends at Let's Talk Sports. Follow them up at Let's Talk Sport on Twitter. Same thing, along with Sideline Sports as well. And here's Sideline Sport at Sideline Sport 1. Our friends over there in Philly, Hardcore Sports Network at Hardcore Sports _. And of course, give us a follow. As you can see, all the places where you can follow us there. And of course, our Instagram account at Just Fans Pod. Again, a big thank you to Sarge for being here. We got to have you back on again, man. It was such a great show.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Not a problem. All right, so we're ending it. Like I said, don't go just yet, Sarge. We'll talk a little bit after, but that's going to be it for us this week, y'all. See y'all Saturday for It's Live Saturday night. To the meantime, peace.